Many will argue that Christian Bale's performance was some of the best Batman movies we've ever seen with the Dark Knight trilogy, which came out from 2005 to 2012. And some big statue manufacturers such as JND and Queen Studios are banking on that because 10 years after a character was on screen, they decided to make expensive-ass statues about said characters. Now, if you're a big fan of the Dark Knight trilogy like I am, you definitely want one in your collection. But the question is, which one? By the way, that is one of my pet peeves. When people ask me, what should I buy? I don't know what you should buy. I'm not you. Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Xtreme channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to do a comparison video, or what we call an Extreme Rumble, an Xtrumble. That's right, we're going to take two very similar statues from two different companies and break it down into categories to see which one is better within each category, and maybe based off of some of this information, you can make a decision of which one you're going to buy, justify a purchase you've already made, or just decide on your favorite. So a little bit of background. Christian Bale, who portrayed Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, in Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, was very popular. And still is to this day. I think Christian Bale is an amazing actor. I loved him in tons of other movies, such as American Psycho and Reign of Fire. And I was very pleased with this entire trilogy. A lot of people will even argue that The Dark Knight, the second one with Heath Ledger, is the greatest comic book movie of all time. I don't know if it's the greatest comic book movie of all time, but I would definitely say it's in the top 3 or 5. But these particular statues are made by two licensed companies. The one on my right is by Queen Studios, and I've done an individual review on this statue. You can actually check it out right here. The one on my left is one I actually don't own. I just got it in for a video that I recently did. You can check out the video right here. It's made by a company called JND Studios. Now, both of these are representations from The Dark Knight, so the second movie. Although I find that kind of weird because as we go through it, you're going to see that there's a lot of differences. So it amazes me that Warner Brothers, who owns DC and the DCU, would sign off on licensing when there are so many differences, yet they're supposed to be portrayed from the same movie. Anyway, I'm going to break it into a few different categories. Some of these categories are going to be categories I traditionally use in my normal reviews. Some are going to be new ones. Because these are so incredibly similar on a lot of levels, it's difficult to pick which one. Now, before we dive into those differences, we will look at the paint and sculpt and likeness. I gotta let you know there are a few differences with the JND. Not only the price, which we're gonna look at, but they use what they call hyper-realistic. That means they use real hair, they use medical-grade silicone for the skin, and they use glass eyes. Where the Queen's kind of a hybrid. It's still a polystone statue, but they do have real hair on this particular version. There was a few different versions offered. And I believe it's also glass eyes on that one. If I'm wrong, throw that down in the comments below. First, I want to look at the bases of each statue. So each statue comes with a specific base. Now, each of them have alternate bases you can buy or get with other characters, which we'll talk about later. But let's look at both of these. Now, the JND is a museum-style base. So very boring, but very classy. And it matches the rest of the JND line. Where the Queen Studios is actually kind of a hybrid conceptual Batmobile representation. And I like both of them. They both have a logo on the front, which I'm not a huge fan of. The JND does state it's from the Dark Knight. In my opinion, it's a no-brainer. The Queen Studio base is way cooler. Now I can hear the argument, Mr. X, if you're buying all JND statues, then the base is much cooler on the JND. Well, if that's the case, you don't need this video at all because you're just buying JND statues. So that's why the Queen Studios base wins, in my opinion. Let's talk about the display options. So the display options are almost identical with one exception. They both have cowled portraits. You can see that right here. And we're going to come back and look at which one is better later. And they both have unmasked portraits with display stands for whatever portrait you don't use. But otherwise, what you see is what you get. However, both have companion pieces that you can buy. And not only are they companion pieces, but they're companion pieces you can actually merge together on bases. This is what I mean. So the JND, you can actually get another version of Bruce Wayne. So him in a suit, and they can stand on a similar base. Where the Queen Studios has a companion Heath Ledger statue, which I actually own as well. And you could have bought another base that encompasses both characters, very similar to the interrogation room scene, where he's sitting behind him. Although Heath is on the bench that he was in the jail cell, so some of it doesn't make sense. But it also doesn't make sense that Batman would be standing next to Bruce Wayne. So honestly, I think display options is a tie between both of them. Both very cool options. Nothing incredibly elaborate. They didn't want to do anything in the hands, like give them a grappling gun or anything of that nature. Displayability, I want to talk about that. These are very similar statues. The Queen Studio is a tiny bit shorter due to the base right here, but they both take up about the same room when it comes to how wide the base is and how deep it is. The Queen Studios is a little bit deeper, about 3 inches deeper, not really a big deal. They both have fabric capes, although I do have to say the JND feels much higher quality. Really, for displayability, I also think it's a tie. Let's look at the suits. So here are some different shots of different parts of the suit. And like I said, it is really freaky to me that they're actually very different, in my opinion, that Warner Brothers signed off on these, unless they had different suits throughout the movie, which I don't recall. But these do look very different, not only the color on them, but some of the design aspects. So when I'm looking at both of these, I actually think the JND suit is much more cool. I much prefer it. For some reason, it just looks more realistic, more functional. So for that reason, I actually give the better suit to the JND piece. Let's look at the portraits. First, let's compare the cowl portraits. This is almost a no-brainer to me. It's not only the expression that I see on the Queen face that makes it a little wonky, but also because I like that JND suit better, the cowl looks better. I think the JND is much better on the cowled portrait. I think it wins instantly, in my opinion. However, it's so funny because if you flip that to the Bale portraits, the Bruce Wayne portraits, the JND should be better because it's using medical grade silicone and hand punched hair. However, I think the Queen looks a lot better. He doesn't have the age that the JND does. I think the likeness is a little bit more spot on. So I give the Bruce Wayne portrait to the Queen Studio statue. So no pun intended, these are almost neck and neck. But which one is better? Well, I think we have to consider price. So if you're buying just the statues right here, the Queen was right around $1,000, depending on which version you took. Where the JND is over twice that, almost 2.5 times that on the price. The edition sizes were pretty similar. You can see that below. So I think it's a no-brainer that the Queen is a much better value considering what you have. Now again, if you're buying all JND pieces because they all have that similar matching base, it's no contest which one you're going to get. However, if you're thinking, hey, I want a Christian Bale Batman in the 1/3 scale, honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. But from an affordability price, I think the Queen is the way to go, which is why I have that one. Now, both of these are from Spec Fiction. They sell Queen and JND Studios. There's a link in the description below if you want to check these out or other pieces. But both are manufactured by pretty reputable companies. I have a number of JND pieces. I have a ton of Queen Studio pieces. And like I said, I really don't think you can go wrong. However, which one has the X factor? Which one do I like more? I have to admit, I don't like the Christian Bale portrait on the Batman without his suit on. It just looks weird. I'm so glad that they had the unmasked portrait because I think that's almost needed. But because of that, I would probably almost always display with the masked portrait. So overall, I do like the JND better. I think the JND is the better statue when you consider that. But you have to decide, is it worth 2.5 times the price? Which one do you guys think? Throw that down in the comments below. Let's see. It's probably going to be about 50-50, but I love to read your comments. I'm also going to put a poll on YouTube today as well. So make sure to vote for which one you like and throw down in the comments why you chose what you chose, because that comment could win you a statue. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you gotta be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you wanna make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Spec Fiction for both of these. I'm gonna get this one back to you, even though I like it better. But I really appreciate you guys. Please drop a like. It really helps the channel. And it's easy and free for you. Talk to you soon.